Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you are. Welcome to this collaboration between Chakra News and Gunners Shot. I'm joined by Lieutenant General P. Ravi Shankar, former DG Artillery, a man whose vision extends far beyond the range of conventional artillery, if I may say so. General Shankar, welcome.
Thanks a lot. Conventional artillery has limited range. We
Right.
are in the age of missiles and rockets and long-range systems and long-range surveillance. So obviously, you have to extend your vision.
Absolutely. And
And
as Putin has put out recently, missiles and torpedoes with unlimited range. So this is the
range,
world that we are in. I mean, what a time to be alive.
yeah,
2025.
yeah.
But General Shankar, without much ado, straight away, right off the bat, is the world being divided between the United States and China? Are we living through a G2 moment? And I'm saying that only because Trump posted that on social media ahead of his meeting with Xi Jinping on the in Busan in Seoul, South Korea.
Yeah, well, that's a normal question which a lot of people are asking, but I don't think so. And let me put it this way. Yeah, there is a G2 between between USA and China. That both the leaders have met and all, but unfortunately, no one is following them. You
Right.
know, there is no great agreement which came out within this meet. Look, by all analysis, Chinese and US and the world, everyone feels this meet between Trump and Xi Jinping was more of a tactical ceasefire. It was not a deal.
Right.
There was no
Right.
deal. That's the first thing. They just stepped back from the edge of a precipice,
Right.
which they were getting into. Right? It brings some sanity back. The road back from here to normalcy is very long, and I don't think it will be reached. Because there are
Right.
fundamental problems between the two. Both want to run the world in their manner.
Right.
Okay.
Both
But
want
there
a
are issues in the.
G2.
Yeah, they want a G1 very clearly. Right. And there are issues. And if they had not done this the so-called G2, Trump G2, I call this the Trump G2, right?
Trump G2.
Uh,
That's Trump's version of an
G2.
idea.
Mhm. They would have been in severe problems,
Hmm.
okay, economically, and then the rest of the things would have followed. Uh, well, uh, I feel that both are similar individuals and both have similar aspirations
Right.
and both are going for similar goals.
Right.
Uh, in fact, I have a slide on this. If you could put it, you will explain this. Yeah, that one. Yeah, look, you look at it. Trump and Xi Jinping are two autocrats.
Right.
Both, many people think they're different guys. I think they have fundamentally same traits.
Hmm.
Both of them share an obsession with their place in history and are fanatical self-promoters.
Right.
Incidentally, this is something which I have extracted and modified from very nice article in Washington Post by David Ignatius.
Right.
This is what he mentions, and I agree. That's why I took it. Now, Xi sees himself as a man of destiny for China. Lead China rejuvenation of the great Chinese dream and what's that? Revenge against the century of humiliation and all that.
Right. Right.
Trump sees himself as an instrument of national renewal. He wants to make America great again, and all that. So both have similar aims, and only one can succeed. Both can't. If both can't succeed, then there's no G2. It's only G1. The
Right.
other has to go into wherever he has to go.
Jen
And
Shankar, for the benefit of our viewers, we should explain what the concept of the G2 is.
yeah, okay, fine. When you say what is the concept of a G2, the G2 was a thing which started with Obama. Obama floated this concept around 2007-8, around the second term, when he found that the Chinese economy was coming up, and he felt it's time that China will be is a peer competitor. It's only a matter of time. Their
Yeah.
economy was booming at those days, And he felt that China should take its due share of global responsibility and global governance along with USA, right? And he hoped that as part of this G2,
Right.
they want, China would democratize and become more benign. But
Right.
well, that didn't happen, and
Right.
that's a different story.
That Xi Jinping was not in power then. It was, I think, it's Wen
Yeah,
Jiabao, Hu
it
Jintao,
is Hu
those guys.
Jintao. It was Hu Jintao. It was around 2005 to 7, somewhere around that time. 2011, 12, Xi Jinping comes and the whole thing gets washed off,
Right.
right? So that's how it is. And like I said, both of them want to make, one chap wants to make America great again, and the other wants global governance initiative, which he has put across. Right,
MAGA and
recently,
make China
MAGA and yeah,
make America great.
whatever you call it, right? Interestingly, both of them have not risen through the ranks. Both have privileged backgrounds.
Right.
Trump's father was a millionaire and very rich, and he's had that background. And Xi Jinping also, his
Right.
father was Xi Shankun, was one of the guys of the revolution who
The
was
princeling.
purged two, three times. Yeah, princeling. He's a princeling.
Yeah.
Another interesting fact: both are at war with the governing class beneath them. You see what's happening in America today. The deep state has to be destroyed as far as Trump is concerned.
Right.
Okay, and he's destroying his own structures, which he felt, through the Dodge and all that. You remember that? And what is Xi Jinping doing is carrying out a massive purge. The kind of purge even Mao didn't carry out in China. He's done it over the past 10 years.
Right.
So both are, they want to purge their own systems in a way. There's a democratic purge, that's a communist purge. That's the only difference. I look at it, and we'll talk of it a little later. Then, interestingly, what David Ignatius says is a world governed by these two autocrats is bad news. And it is bad news for all of us. They're not doing it well. And we are stuck with them. We can't run away from both these fellows for some time. But it's better to have them talking than fighting. Rather than right, because that gives some thing to everyone.
Right.
But this, I don't stop here. Let's look at this summit which happened, right? And we'll see what the summit has got. Whatever it happened in the summit is one part of the story. But the fact is, what didn't happen in the summit?
Yeah.
The underlying things which are prevailing in the global scene, that is something which we need to focus on. Look, US and China are big economies. They're the biggest economies in the world, right? But they're sluggish.
Yeah.
They're today very sluggish, and many people, when they talk, they're in the danger of collapse due to different reasons in different time frames. You know what's happening in USA with the debt and all that, $38 trillion debt. People are worried anytime it might keel over. You look at China, demographic decline, which is irreversible, involution, overproduction, and the purges, everything. So both are not not in good nick. Compare their economies around 2000, in the period 2005 to 10, 12, even up to as late as 2018, 19 to now. Right, there's a big difference. Right, and they're also losing influence, and that's because of the trust deficit they have generated. Right. And I'll explain this a little more. They're losing influence because Trump's allies are not confident of him, whether it's Japan, whether it's South Korea, or Taiwan. They don't know whether USA will be there when they're needed, when these countries need them. Or for that matter, you see the rifts in NATO and see the way things are going about with the Ukraine war. Same way you look at China. China is in the same boat with their BRA and their trust deficit. See what's happening to Pakistan. The flip Pakistan did with China.
Left China and ran into the US arms.
Yeah,
Right.
US arms, right? And for that matter, you look at what's happening in the Middle East. China has virtually been kicked out from there. No one
Yeah.
wants China. Yeah, they
Right.
say, okay, we'll take oil, we'll do all that. We are still in BRI, but there's no influence. They both can't influence events. Both these countries have not been able to influence the the Russia-Ukraine war, get it to a close. Or for that
Right.
matter, what's happening in West Asia. Or for that matter, look at the Chinese. They're having problems in their own backyard in the South China Sea.
Right.
They're not able to close out whatever they started with, even Philippines. Both countries have internal political problems, huge polarization, right? And military problems. Even Trump is carrying out some kind of a purge. You saw Hexet giving a talk to all the admirals, and
Yes.
he says, "Get going." He's sacked so many people,
Right.
including the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
Right.
Right, he's sacked, and same thing. The order, the magnitude might vary because it's just because Xi Jinping has been in power for about 12 years. His numbers are more. But what's happening in the American US military is the same. Then the very interesting thing which is coming out today, the rest of the world is seeking to reduce dependency on both these countries
Hmm.
actively. And now let me explain. You look, there. This is both when you read the Chinese or the US or anyone. The 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 economic blocks in this world, if you look at it, are US, China, undoubtedly. Then the
EU.
third economic bloc, EU. The fourth economic bloc is something like Korea, Taiwan, Japan, Australia, one other economic bloc. The fifth economic bloc is India, India on its own. And the sixth economic bloc is the Middle East, the West Asia, the oil sheikdoms. And the
Right.
next economic bloc is the global south. These are the broad economic
Yeah.
blocks. Now you see whether it is Japan, Korea, or Taiwan, or Australia, or Middle East, or for that matter, Europe, or India. We're all trying to see how to get out of the grips of USA and China. We can't live without them,
Yeah.
but
But we
can
can't live with
we?
it.
Yeah, we can't live easily with them anymore.
Yeah.
So you have to reduce dependency. So all the other blocks, EU, West Asia, India, I'll call it East Asia for anything else, lack of anything else. We are all now, and the global south, they're seeking partnership with each other. Even for that matter, the Latin American big boys, Argentina and Brazil, they're all looking at how to form better connections between them, which was not there earlier. Right? In fact, far from a G2, this very factor that the world is seeking to reduce dependency diffuses G2. G2 is far away.
Right.
Both USA and China want influence, but they don't want the responsibility.
Right. That's a very important line. Both want influence, but they don't want responsibility.
Want responsibility. So,
Yeah.
this is something which I thought I'll put across. We can take the slide off if right. We'll get back to it later. Yeah, and if you have any, I want your views on all this. It's okay. These are my views. What are
No,
your views on this?
absolutely. No, absolutely. I concur with you on this. When that G2, the minute I saw that G2 statement, I quickly sat down, opened my laptop, and wrote out a few lines for India Today. And my sense is that there's been a lot of, chatter around G2. Like, it came out in the Obama years. And it's that Brzezinski, the former NSA. He is the one who actually endorsed it the loudest, in as many words. In 2011, he actually said G2, that, we look at this world, dividing it into spheres, and China should actually get a larger share of
Yeah,
responsibilities and all that. He said that on the 30th anniversary of the reopening of the China and US, the diplomatic ties, 2011. So it is 71 is
yeah,
when they resumed the thing, and 2011 is when he said that. And very interestingly, Henry Kissinger, he's someone who is also alluded to this in his book. If you've seen that very great book of his called On China in 2011, I think it was 11, 12. Kissinger has also said the same thing. Oh, we want a China who will, be equal up, and we will share, be responsible powers, and all of those things. But the thing is, like you said, all of this was before Xi Jinping arrived on the scene, and Xi Jinping actually kind of, it's like that. Since I watch a lot of cinema, I'll say that it's like that last scene of a movie where you finally see this grand denouement, that the villain, the super villain, and he unveils himself, and like the mastermind, and then you realize, oh my God, we've been taken for a ride. All these years,
Right.
we've become a democracy, but here you're looking at a new Mao Zedong, So that kind of moment, and now I think they're having second thoughts, and particularly with the kind of the progress that China has been making economically, militarily, as a manufacturing superpower. I mean, by the end of this decade, they're going to be 50% of world manufacturing output. Those are big numbers. So I think Trump's thing of G2 was more hyperbole. I think he wants to put a gold gilt edge to everything and prop it up and say, this is our G2 moment. But like you said, I don't think both of them seriously believe in a G2 moment. They both think that they're G1. And it's as in one, I think, which story was it by one of the journalists who had a very catchy thing. It's actually, it's the G1 moment for Xi Jinping. And you see the statement that came out, that the Chinese put out. Trump, of course, after the meeting, Trump didn't come out with any great statement or anything. He just, did that usual buck with reporters. Oh, we've got a, agreement on rare earths. We've got an agreement on semiconductors. We got this, that, and all that. But the Chinese statement is very interesting, and that sounded more like the G2 kind of statements that, you would have expected from a proper G2 kind of summit. So to my mind, it's exactly that thing that you said, that line that you use, that both want to be, part of this G2 thing, but without any of the responsibility. And here is China,
Yeah, I think so. And of course, the interesting thing is both are big economies, both are suffering. And
Right.
that's one of the reasons why they can't get into this business at this point of time of being in G1 or G2.
Right.
Right. And so that is the issue which we all have to understand.
Right.
But can we shift? Because this has got implications for India.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what I'm going to ask you about now, because you've just seen a 10-year India-US defense framework, that agreement that was signed between Pete Hegseth and Defense Minister Rajnath Singh just 2 days ago. What's the implication of that? I mean, have we decided to separate our differences with the United States on trade and say that, look, while we look at the trade and tariff issues on one side, we are going to continue with the defense cooperation agreement? What's your take on that framework agreement that we've signed with them, the 10-year agreement?
Look, that framework agreement is an extension of, or strategic partnership which we are already in with them.
Right.
1 minute, I'll have to give a message. Yeah. So, sorry. That 10-year agreement it's a framework of defense cooperation. It's just an extension or reaffirming the strategic partnership already existent between India and USA.
Yeah.
Right. That's the first thing. Right. But having said that, it is important. But it is important, and we have to continue with it, and we need USA in our overall relationship between India, China, and USA.
Right.
So I think, let me put across a few issues. We have to examine this in the context of India-US relationship, where we are going, India-China relationship, where we are going. And then we should see what does this 10-year relationship mean. So what I'll do is I'll cover it with a few graphics. If you could just put this on the slides on, I'll explain. Yeah. The first
This
thing
India
is,
relationship. Yeah.
the first thing is the India-US relationship. Let's first examine that. We are very clear that India and US are already in a strategic formal partnership. There's no doubt about it. We have defense cooperation. And that defense cooperation actually has been the bedrock on which the strategic partnership has, you know, uh, flowered, if that's the word I'll use, or grown, right? That's the platform. We also have a tech cooperation. There is an Indo-Pacific construct in the form of Quad.
Right.
We are at some point till about say this year, we were looking at containment of China. Then we have deep socio-cultural connects through our diaspora.
Right.
And a lot of tech relationship between our IT industries, right? There's a hell of a lot of things going, but that's changed. That's changed by a few factors, and all happened this year. The Russian oil story,
Right.
then the tilt of USA to Pakistan.
Pakistan. Right.
This talk of G2 with China, which is not very good. I'm glad this meeting went the way it is without any G2. Today, one thing we can be sure of, the G2 is not coming in.
Right.
Then we've had very demeaning taunts from Trump. He's
Trump
actually
and
denigrate. Yeah. Even now, he's hyphenated. He keeps hyphenating India and Pakistan.
Yeah.
In all his talks.
Right.
Okay. Then Trump has shifted to a Central Asian strategy, which we discussed.
Sergio Gore and his
Sergio
appointment.
Gore, and right. And then there's a resource hunt which is on.
Yeah.
He wants minerals. He's looking at minerals. Then his fixation with the Nobel Prize. And
Right.
then the H-1B visa issue and immigration and things like that. And that immigration issue is now stretching to all those people who are already citizens of USA.
Right.
Or the Indian origin citizens of USA, which is now erupted thanks to the Vice President J.D. Vance and Usha Vance.
Yes,
and
that's a separate thing. I'm going to quickly ask
Story.
you about that later on. Yes.
But that's part of the connect.
Right.
Or the disconnect which is happening.
Yeah.
So when you look at it, there is a underlying thing which is there, and this is new which is coming.
Right.
Slowly, I think the Russian oil will fade away. But will the Pakistan tilt go away? I don't think so.
I don't think, yes.
The G2 might get diluted. But will the rest of the things change? They'll not change. If they don't change, then we have to accept the fact that the strategic partnership with India and USA is virtually dead. It doesn't have trust.
Right.
Right? If it is no trust, then how good is this defense framework?
Yeah.
Okay? This defense, we are continuing a show, a charade. But on the other hand, when you look at it, the Japanese and the Australians would be heaving a sigh of relief with this defense framework, right? And Trump's recent visit to both the APEC countries and ASEAN will revive the Indo-Pacific. That's the hope. But will it do so? I don't know.
Right.
So let us see how this goes. As it's not on the same wicket. I mean, a lot of things have changed, and from here on we can only hope for the best. Okay, now let's look at China. If you look at the strategic construct of China, it's first looking at the Global Governance Initiative, and it's using the SCO plus and the BRICS to do that. And it is very clearly said we want to be the global governance agents.
Right. And
they're also trying.
These are all multilateral agencies.
Yeah, but ultimately they want the G1 through GGI, which says, and they're now talking, if you see their narratives which are coming out, shift many of the headquarters of UN to China type, away from New York. That's their thinking, or have an alternate system.
Right.
They also, look, whatever happens, KSA Pact, Pakistan, USA, all that is one part of the story. China is also looking at a Saudi-Pak-China axis. in the long run, which is not good for us, right? And we also have to understand their economy is declining. Whether one likes it or not, it is declining. There's deflation for the past 7 months, in fact, more than a year, in fact. And there is an involution happening, and their demography is declining, and they can't revive, right? They might be a big economy, but it will not revive. In that context, what's the story about India and China? Is the border problem going to run away? It's not. In fact, it's going to get worse. And if you see today, China is putting out maps which don't have Kashmir in the top. You see a different, a chopped off India. And they're propagating it freely in international forums, right? Okay. Their thing to Pakistan will remain.
Yeah.
Pakistan, China will never let go of each other because they have a common problem, a major problem in India. They're vying for regional influence, where India doesn't figure. We should have no doubt about it. They're vying for supremacy in the global south. They are in a denial regime with us. They control a lot of taps with rare earths, tunnel boring machines with their, right? And there's a trade imbalance, which is only getting worse. Look, there is news saying that Indian exports to China have increased by some percent. But equally, there is a double that has increased, imports have increased from China to India.
100 billion is imported.
Yeah. So there is a problem in this, which we have to understand. And these problems won't run away. They'll not run away. Okay. And then, for India, improving economic ties with China is a necessity. But as we do that, our dependency on China also increases, which is a problem, right? Then for China, improving economic ties is a necessity again with India. However, because they don't have markets anywhere else, right? It involves development of India. Investment into India means technological development of India, which will work to their own, detriment. So we are caught in a bind with China. Where do we go? Do we look at the economy, look at the culture, you look at the influence, you look at your own growth, you look at the border? So all this, if you put in together, and the border, they're going to be hostile, whether we like it or not. Okay, they'll remain on. When you look at all this thing in perspective, your threat, China threat, is physical in nature. The American threat is largely, economic and things like that in nature. It's not a threat which will, undermine your sovereignty and territorial integrity, whereas China. So obviously we have to, if there's a tilt which you have to do between these two, cold logic suggests you better tilt towards USA. Right? And that will get you a little more thing. I'm not saying that, you tilt completely towards USA. No. You have to, the tilt, if any, is something like earlier we probably were tilting, say, 70% to USA and only 30% with China. Today it will come down to maybe about, say, it would be about 55% USA, 45% China.
Right. So
and that's where we...
Yeah, that's where this framework agreement is, this agreement,
10-year
agreement comes.
Yeah. So we can take this off. We can talk about both these relationships before I talk of the India part of it.
The choice then that New Delhi has taken, that given the kind of acrimony between the US and India, and of course, it's taken the least of the two, problems that we are facing, the China front and the US front. We have a more worrying, like you mentioned, China is a bigger threat because it threatens our territorial integrity in a sense. And it's also a direct military threat on our borders. So we have chosen the lesser of the two evils. We've chosen to go with the United States for now, for the next 10 years. But, you think that will result in us getting a bad deal when it comes to the tariffs? Because that trade deal is still being negotiated between India and the US. and there's talk of us being asked to downgrade our relationship with Russia and reduce buying Russian oil and all that. You think that is something that we will agree to doing? They've already sanctioned the two major Russian oil companies. So
Yeah, yeah, that's a fair question. Will we be able to do a deal with USA? That's a larger question,
yeah,
right? Let me disaggregate all these. See, the first ray of hope is that the fact that they've waived off the sanctions on or extended the waiver on sanctions on Chabahar for another 6 months,
right.
right? So now you still have a way into Afghanistan, right? It fits into their strategic calculus also. So I don't think Chabahar will keep coming up, but I think they'll keep giving us waivers. I mean,
Right.
that's the first
So
part.
there's no
Second is
closing.
defense.
Yeah.
Yeah, they also need a way into Iran at some point of time. If Pakistan goes into a tailspin, what's the way into Afghanistan and Central Asia? It has to go through Iran. And if they're not in okay terms with Iran, they'll need India to go through Iran. And that's the physical connectivity is there. Actually, Chabahar serves American purposes. They know it. So I don't think Chabahar will go out. I think that's a point of convergence which we have reached, right? It's important.
Hmm.
The second thing is, of course, this defense deals. Because Trump sitting in USA and talking is one thing. Trump coming to Asia Pacific region or the ASEAN region and talking is something else. So you've got a feel of what's happening there.
Yeah.
Met the leaders and all that. And after this defense cooperation thing has come up.
Yeah.
Right. And this is not only of India, US kind of a thing, but remember, this has happened in Malaysia
Right.
with all the APEC and the ASEAN leaders.
Yeah.
They would say, look, if you guys are not with us, we can't handle China. I mean, one funny thing, I wouldn't say a funny thing, that it's a fact about ASEAN. ASEAN depends on trade for China and security on USA.
Ah, okay. That's interesting. Yes, absolutely. Now that you say it.
Yeah. And against both, their hedge is India.
Right.
I mean, that's the way, if you read ASEAN, that's what comes through. So they are, from their security point of view, the ASEAN and right up to APEC, leave China out, everyone is more comfortable with India and USA on the same defense wicket.
Right.
Right? Especially Philippines. Philippines is the biggest propagator of this thought process today. Especially after they've got their BrahMos. And if you see the way the Philippines president has been speaking about India, you'll get the drift. So I think there is something there for us to really think of. Okay. And that's a second positive. The third positive about India-US relations is this. Now, there have been commentary coming out of USA that they realize that, look, they have to ensure that East Europe and even a lot of Europe has to start reducing their dependence on Russia for oil and energy.
Hmm.
They say, look, unless that happens, there's no point in pressurizing India. One. And number two, Trump would have spoken something about, of course, he did speak with China on the Russian angle also. That's come out. What has the outcome of that, we don't know, but there's some pressure on China also. So now people are realizing that there's no point in pressurizing India. And India has said, right, this is what it is. If you don't want us to take oil from Russia, then you allow us to take oil from Iran and Venezuela because no one else can give it.
Yeah.
And we'll take some more oil from USA also, but there's a limit to what USA can produce and give. They can't, be a substitute for Russian oil. And USA wants to sell oil to China also in this deal, right? Trump-Z deal. So I think these three factors, if you put in, that trade deal will come through and slowly the tensions will wind down between India and USA.
Right.
But the trust is gone. The hyphenation between Pakistan and India will remain with Trump. So that puts a cap on how far we can go with USA,
Okay.
right? And this is what the way I look at it. I mean, and let me put it this way. This is what I want your comments on this.
Right. No, absolutely. You're spot on, Jan Shankar. And I think, we've discussed this in the past as well, that how New Delhi, and by New Delhi, I mean South Bloc, primarily the defense and the foreign policy wing, the foreign ministry have decided that now we have to kind of ride out this Trump storm. There's no escaping him. He is a reality for the next 3.5 years. And we have to try and, minimize our exposure to him, in a sense that, minimize the prime minister's exposure also to Trump till the time that a trade deal is reached. Because he's given to, he's a content creator. He's possibly the world's most.
That's a nice one, content creator.
Yeah, he's the content creator of the world. He's got his own social media platform, Truth Social. He keeps posting over there. He posts memes. And that thing has now begun to travel through the Trump administration. I don't know if you saw the Happy Halloween message that J.D. Vance has put out, where he has, transformed himself into that meme. There is a J.D. Vance fan, J.D. Vance meme, and he's actually worn that for Halloween, and he's embraced it, given all the other troubles that he's going through. So here's the point, and I think for us, an unpredictable U.S. administration that is predictable only in its unpredictability is big concern for us, because we are not used to this kind of, how do I put it? On the spur of the moment statements and spontaneous things, actions, creating a content thing or creating a meme or a reel. So I think our strategies, as you mentioned, is that we have figured out and exactly, and thank you for putting those factors down that actually govern us. And a lot of those are, things that we thought we had broken out of in the previous administrations. And today Trump has kind of, tied us back in all of those things, this binary with Pakistan and given his own thing, because he is now he's not thinking about the United States or where the US needs to be 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the line. He is looking at where I need to be next year.
Yeah.
It is I, me, myself. It's my way. It's the Nobel Prize that I need. And for that, everything else is expendable, including my relationships, my alliances, my personal friendships. Everything can be commodified and used. And that's what he's doing. So I completely agree with your analysis that this is the way the US is going to be in the next couple of years. It's going to be a rough ride for us. And I think this demands greater attention now to foreign policy than we have given at any time in the recent years.
Yeah, and that brings us to the next part of the story. Where does India go from here?
Right.
Look, I mean, ultimately we have to see what is this is it. And that's the thing, which I want to make. Look, these are India's deals or FTAs or strategic partnerships of the recent past.
Right.
Right? I mean, let me enumerate them and then I'll explain this whole story. We've had deals with Japan, we had deals with Brazil, Russia, EU, Italy, Germany, France, Ukraine, Finland, Canada, Brazil, Philippines, Singapore, UK, Australia, UAE, Saudis, Egypt, Israel. And these are a few. And more are in the pipeline.
Yeah.
Right? We don't know. What with the global south, I've not yet put it. What about our neighborhood? I've not put it. The fact is, all these have happened in the recent past. Okay? Maybe in the past 3 months. Actually, I started with just about 4-5 countries, and every second, third day, I've been expanding this circle.
Right.
And it's interesting that everyone is coming towards us. This gives you a lot of elbow space to deal with China and USA.
So we're balancing, hedging our options, basically.
We are hedging our options. Our room to hedge options has increased, one.
Right.
Second, which is out of this picture, is the fact that America Incorporated is coming heavily into India. Whether it's the global capability centers or the Google $15 billion investment is not a joke. Remember, $15 billion investment is what China did into Pakistan. You see, everyone talks of CPEC as a $62 billion investment.
Right.
Actually, it's not. Actually, only what has been invested into Pakistan is about $20 billion.
Right.
No, this is almost the same. $15 billion a private company is putting into India at one location.
In one state. Yeah, that's right.
One state, one location. What would others do? I hear OpenAI wants to come into India. TP-Link wants to come into India. I mean, for those of you who don't understand what TP-Link is that company which makes a lot of hardware,
Yeah.
including the routers you use, the modems you use, all hardware of all communication is TP-Link, right? Your internet, servers, everything is all TP-Link. Even they want to come to India because why are they coming to India? Because the digital business in India is growing, and once digital business grows, there's no looking back. So, and for a long time to come, India will be the fastest growing economy. In fact,
Right.
today I saw another graphic. I couldn't bring it in. Amongst the top 20 economies, India has got the lowest age, median age.
Right. Right. Of course.
Okay.
We have
So,
got 28.
yeah, we are 29 at this point of time, as per that graphic. Okay. And you look at China and USA are at 40 median age. China's median age will go up, USA will go down because of their immigration policies, right? So that is going to remain. And if that is the case, there is no way your economy will go down. And we are a consumption based economy. We can take this off. Yeah. We can take the slide off. Ours is a consumption based economy, which ours is a domestic economy. This is what our RBI governor went and told people in US. Why are you trying to fool around with us? Whether you do anything or not, you don't control our growth. Our growth is domestic driven. Now, when all these countries want to come in, and you have all the metrics to go, you will remain the fastest growing economy.
Right.
Right. In which case, we have to do 2-3 things. Right. You want to speed up your economy? Of course, you have to improve your economic ties with China and USA. It goes without saying, because they're the two biggest economies. You have to deal with them. But equally, you have to look at it from a security point of view. You have a major problem with China, not so with USA.
Right.
So you have to take a call how much you want to do with both, each. And who do you depend on security? At the end of the day, you still need technology. You need certain amount of technology coming in, certain amount of knowledge factor coming in from USA. China will not give you. China is very clear that they give you nothing. Right? So you have to get it from USA, you have to get it from the West. There's another factor which I must put in. You see, Europe is on a remilitarization.
Yeah.
Okay. They have the big way. They have the technology. They don't have the manpower. And all these things which are happening between EU and India will only help India. I mean, what is significant is the EU president and the EU leadership are going to be the chief guests for our next Republic Day parade. It gives you an indication, right, of how things are going, right? So I think we are in good space, but we have to focus on one thing: increasing our military capabilities.
Right.
And that, especially with focus on China and Pakistan.
Right.
We don't have a choice.
Absolutely. Comprehensive military power, CMP.
Yeah. So I thought these are the issues which we have to look at. Your views or your questions?
No, I think, General Shankar, what a fascinating roundup it has been. And, it's such a delight to speak with you because, like I mentioned at the start of this, your vision extends far beyond the horizon of any conventional artillery. And, and we've just, literally gone around the world 360 degrees looking at all our threats, opportunities, and, the worries, of course, the security worries that you pointed out. And the fact that, we are looking at the distant hegemon versus the near hegemon. And we have decided to kind of balance the near hegemon by partnering with the distant hegemon. And that, I think we've extended that lease by another 10 years. Who knows what it will look like in 2035? But I think for now, this seems to be our horizon. That look, we are still in that hide your strength, bide your time kind of thing. We've taken something out of the Chinese, philosophy. That's Deng Xiaoping's hide your strength, bide your time. But I think we should open up the floor to some very interesting questions.
Yeah.